Hello everyone, this is Teri and this is Alison. We are the Sky Whisperers and we are here for the November monthly astrological insights for you. It looks like a busy month in the busy sky, busy month in the month of November, and there are lots of things going on. What do you say, Alison?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a busy month, and it's the month in which we've got various planets turning retrograde and others going direct. So that always creates action in the world and in our lives. And the lunations are interesting too, I think. So the full and new moons. So let me just share the screen there, Terry, and we can have a look at where we are as we start the month. I'm in France, of course, so this is just set for the 1st of November, random time in France. And we've got lots of planets there in Scorpio, a little stellium there in Scorpio. And then, of course, I mean, the water is a theme, I think, this month, actually, and that's really going to come through with the grand trine that kind of keeps repeating itself. So we've got these watery planets in fixed Scorpio and the cardinal Jupiter in Cancer there. And then we come down, and actually, we start the month with the moon in Pisces as well as Neptune and Jupiter, which Neptune and Saturn, sorry, which are retrograde there. So there's a huge emphasis on water and just Venus sort of on her own up there in the air sign of Libra.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like in that sense, I think, of course, there would be sign changes, etc., through the month, but
Sure.
since we literally don't have any Earth and like all this, I mean, like in terms of traditional planets, because Venus will be moving also into Scorpio as well, and we will be like no air, no earth, and then I think we should make more effort. I mean, like to be grounded when we are making any action, any
Yeah.
decisions, etc. We try to make sure that there is some practicality, stability coming, and we should put our minds really well because that it looks like more like the hard part would be working. The inner voices, I think, would be leading us too much in the things that we do, and I think we should sometimes like think. It's really thinking and then putting the feet well on the ground to make sure that there is this
Yeah.
balance, I think, that is going on.
Yeah, I think that's really true. So we can get wrapped up in the emotions of it all and not actually look at the practical reality, and perhaps not find it very easy either to take that step back. I
Yeah.
mean, I missed actually, I said that Mercury was in Scorpio, but it's moved into Sagittarius at this point. So there is that fire as well coming in. But Mercury is not the happiest in Sagittarius. And of course, he's seeing the big picture. He's kind of struggling to find the sort of detail in the big picture. And he's just finding it all quite hard work, I think, to think things through there. And of course, he's in his shadow period. He's about to turn retrograde. So I think it's a time when there's a lot of thinking to be done this month. Um, and that it's going to involve quite a lot of deep digging to get to where we need to be to make the decisions in the end, to take the step back and to get that objectivity. And like Terry said, of course, to try and keep grounded because there's no earth in this chart as we set off through the month. And there's not much earth as we go through it in general, actually, is there?
Yeah, no, I don't think so that I mean like we will be all moving into I think more in fire and water nowadays. So I don't think so that
Yeah.
we will be having any earth, and we shouldn't like disregard the practicality, the efficiency, the grounding that is coming through the earth in these times, especially when the retrograde periods will be visiting us. So that would be the beginning of the month, and first, I think the move would be with the Mars into Sagittarius on the November 4th, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, first, just as we start, we've got this square of Jupiter and Venus there, which is, about maybe about relationships there. And is there going to be some expansion behind this? Can we move forward a little bit with them? But it's generally benefic, and they're both in signs of exaltation. So I think there's a positive note there. It's a little bit challenging, but there's a positive aspect to that. So that's really nice. And then yeah, moving forward to Mars in Sagittarius. So that's going to bring us through to a more visionary and a less stable aspect of Mars as well, I think, isn't it? So Mars is now in fire, can be a little bit reckless sometimes, Mars in Sagittarius. So dashes into
Yeah,
things without
yeah, it could be. I mean, like because it's in fire, it's actually it's in place. I mean, no fire. It's like that fears, etc. It's like you can
Mm,
move more freely, but of course, you have to find a way to contain it in a way. I mean, like that. It's not like freedom, or it's not like, oh, I can just now go move around, run around. And I think it's like it's literally it's like that. Also, we can think that, oh, now I'm like very fit and like start moving around, going on long hike, etc. And then we have to be careful in that sense as well. I mean, in in practical terms too. I mean, but it's. I think it's sometimes it could be good in that sense because there is that all this courage, etc., coming through Mars, and there are things that we would like to explore, and I think it gives that courage to take that initiative steps, etc., to make that exploration or whatever, finding the truth or that finding that wisdom, etc. But I think that how much courage, how much taking initiative, how much that assertiveness, how much of that. I mean, like I think with Sagittarius, it can be like ruled by Jupiter. It can go like a bit too much. So we should
yeah.
find a way to not to exaggerate things, I think, in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. And it's guided here by, I mean, it's kind of backed by Jupiter in Cancer, but Jupiter's thinking about going retrograde as well. I mean, Mars is Sagittarius is about vision and about meaning and about how so there's now a drive to find that meaning in life. But as soon as it steps into Sagittarius, it's confronted by Uranus. I mean, that's quite accident prone as well. So if we've got, you know, things around that first degree of planets or angles around that first degree of the mutable signs of, what are they? um, that's going to be Gemini,
Gemini, I Gemini,
Gemini,
Virgo,
Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces.
like this.
Then, we're going to need to be a little bit careful here, but at the same time, we're being challenged, I think. Can we change our mindset? Can we step into this journey? Can we do it? Whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like again with all the oppositions, it's a balance. How do you do that? I mean, like in a certain
Mm,
area of life, you are trying to get this change in your mindset, how you think, how you do things, etc. And then you go through a kind of a important, I think, like milestones, etc. You are going through, but at
yeah.
the same time, again, I mean, Mercury is your the way that you think, the way you communicate and everything, and you want to be, I mean, like because there is this Gemini is more, I think, rational, and Sagittarius is
Mm,
like more kind of it's like more philosophical part. So how do you blend these
inspirational.
two?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like how do you can how can you blend all these and make a good mixture out of them? I think it could be the question there.
Yep, absolutely. And the moon there is in Taurus now, so we do have a little bit of stability, but also that's attachment to that moon in Taurus. We're just going to move on to the full moon. I'll take it back a few hours. Let me see. I'll take it back a few hours. So we get the full moon, which is at 13 degrees there actually in Taurus.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hmm, that's okay. This I think 1419 in France time. 1419.
Oh, is it? Sorry, 1419. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Let me put it in.
Oh, yeah, I mean the time is 1419, the degree is 1322.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, that's really
Yeah, yeah.
interesting there. So we've got Mars just stepped into Sagittarius, made the opposition with Uranus. And so there's this challenge of the journey, the vision, the finding meaning, and balancing that with other stuff in your life, with the Gemini, finding the facts and things. And then you're confronted with this emotional attachment, you
Mhm.
know, attachment to the present, to, to where you are now with Taurus, to land, to your security, to your comfort zone, really, I guess. And opposed by the transformation, which is suggested by the Sun in Scorpio.
Yeah,
Change.
it can be. Yeah, it's the change, and also it's like it's the time that I think you try to find things, and you try to surface some of the stuff that were deep down, hidden, and everything, and then you try to take them out. But on that in that sense, I mean that's of course it's a water sign. There is something emotional, and also there is something intuitive, but when you come to Taurus, I mean, like there is this sense of security, and
Definitely.
whatever you find could risk, actually could you know that risk, that sense of security, because
Mm,
you are comfortable where you are and you want to stay there. That's the thing that could be coming through Moon in Taurus. So it's like, how do you balance these? I mean, it's like, do I really dig deep too much? Do I really go
yes.
too deep inside me and then take it out? Because that it's like, it's my identity, self-expression, and everything that is in the sun. Uh, but at the same time, how do I continue feeling safe in the area,
Yes.
in the place that I'm used to? So that is the, I think, the kind of the balance that we need to find true in the areas where the sun in Scorpio is and the moon in Taurus is. I think that would be really important in during the full moon.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Balancing security with change. That's it, I think, in a nutshell. Completely what you said, Terry. And interestingly, this full moon, of course, is ruled by Venus in Libra. So there's this idea of, are there contracts involved? Are relationships involved? But also that this Venus in Libra here is at exactly the point of the full moon in Libra that we had last month, which I think really points to it being connected to whatever happened at that full moon, actually. The new moon, sorry,
New
whatever
moon,
happened at
yeah.
that new moon, was something initiated then. Well, this full moon is taking that a stage further.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, we can always, of course, think
Mm.
of the 19 years back, what happened, or 18 months before that, when the
Yes.
new moon that is related with this full moon happened. I mean, like if we started something new in terms of, I mean, like Taurus, etc., and wherever the area that is related with the Taurus in our natal charts, and
Yeah.
we can think about it, that it will take us, I think, back to 2040, 2024,
Yeah.
probably May, April, May. That time, I think it should be May, probably is the time that there was a new moon in Taurus. And then if we
Right.
started something new, I mean, like anything, any new plants, any new seeds planted. So we can also think about it as well, about this full moon.
Yep, definitely. So now we've got Mercury, who is here, who is not really moving anymore, actually, who's kind of hanging out there. He's got a couple more degrees to go, but there's a real kind of steadying now of the thought process, as well, as we're kind of okay, thinking that there's probably quite a lot to think about as we go forward. And we move forward, and Venus steps into Scorpio actually just a day later. I'll just advance that chart a few hours and we'll have Venus in Scorpio.
Yeah,
Um,
we go through the night, I think more. Yeah, it's
is it? Yeah,
22:40, 23:40.
23:40, thanks. Yeah, and we'll get Venus in Scorpio, and that kind of changes everything a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, then we've had this balance, we've had these contracts, but now we're getting that emotional thing back again, the attachment, the moon has gone first to Uranus, so that in itself is interesting. Maybe something has happened, something has changed, and now there's a lot of investment, I think, in that process, whatever it begun.
Yeah,
As we, now move forward, Venus is definitely invested there, and she's coming up against, of course, Pluto in Aquarius. So Pluto in Aquarius is Pluto is always about power struggles. It can be about finances, about riches in a sense, about digging down deeply. And Aquarius is about the planet and the environment as well, but also about technology.
Yeah,
So there's a challenge, I think, in those realms here, and the challenge is in the relationship area. It's in the area of our values too, and emotions. How do we deal with that? It's hard.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like it could be exactly the social welfare and everything. It's like
Mm,
still, I mean, Venus in Scorpio, there could be something more personal, etc., that is going, yeah, that maybe you are trying to solve something that is like that is going inside. I mean, like that deep. I mean,
yes.
like some kind of more emotional things, issues, or whatever is going in your life, and then you are trying to understand and relate to them. I mean, relate to yourself, maybe sometimes relate to your inside, and then there is this thing that is going on the other side, that all that transformation. And yeah,
Yes.
sometimes like it's like you know that I mean I'm that it feels like okay, there is things going on, okay, but something is going in my back garden. So
Yes.
what do I look at? No, I mean,
Yeah.
which do I give my attention to? I mean, which do
Mhm.
I relate to? So, and that's the, I think, the kind of conflict. I mean, is it my back garden or someone else's garden? Okay, it's my back garden, sometimes you say, or but that's also important. So what do I do about this? That's that, I think, inner conflict that is coming out of this kind of aspect here, maybe.
Yes, but I really like that actually. So you're trying to kind of align your inner emotional state, which is really, quite sort of changeable and in turmoil in a sense. T Scorpio is very invested, but also transformational, and you're trying to align that with what's happening in the external world.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really good description. I like that, Terry. Mm.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. At the same time, I guess we've also got Mars making a sextile to Pluto, so that's quite helpful as well. So there's some energy there that's giving us the courage, if you like, to make these transformations, perhaps.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So where are we going from there? Let's
8th of
the 8th.
November. Yeah, it's the time that
We're moving through to the
Uranus,
8th,
mhm, Uranus should be going
moving
back
back into
into,
Taurus. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and there
it
it
is, it
is.
is, yeah, it is, there it is. So it's like now, until now, what happened with Neptune, what happened with Saturn, etc. They are all the time going back. They went back to, as we can see already in this chart, they went back to
Yeah.
Pisces after they dipped into the Aries. Now Uranus would have to make this final arrangements with the Taurus area, and then so that it could move back to Gemini for good, at least for a while. I mean, in April 2026. So it's about the, I mean, it's of course the last degrees of Taurus, so it would be more related to the, I think, in that sense, I mean, fixed signs. I mean, that it could
Mm,
be that could be affected by that, like such as Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, and Leo.
mhm.
And but in that sense, I mean, we can think that it's a kind of a wrapping up period. I mean, like whatever
Yeah.
that because it's like Taurus, it could be land, it could be agriculture, it could be something that you are attached to, it could be something tangible, it could be food or anything that is like you we could have made some really important structural changes in the way that we are
Hmm.
perceiving
Yeah.
those things. And now it's like we have done whatever we have done, but this is the last, like in a way, period to review, last review. Okay, everything is fine, everything aligned.
Yeah.
Okay, we think about it, and because later we have to move on. That's it. That would be done.
Yeah, that's right. Because Uranus in Gemini was about changing mindsets. It was about technology, AI, science, all those kind of things. So returning to Taurus, and it's about finances again. It's about security, food security. It's about land. It's about all those things on a global level, but those things on a personal level too. So yeah, definitely worth thinking about. And
Mhm.
then if we look at Jupiter here in Cancer, about to go retrograde, which is always, oh no, maybe not then. Yeah, sorry, one more day. First, we have
Oh,
Mercury retrograde. Apologies that. Let's go
yeah,
back to
yeah,
Mercury retrograde. Okay, so Mercury is going retrograde on the 9th.
yeah,
Um, just around sort of 7 degrees, 6:51 there, Sagittarius. So, so this is really a period for reflection, for editing, for thinking. Watch out if you've got travel plans, all those kinds of usual Mercury retrograde things. But I mean, given that Sagittarius is about the meaning, it's about the big picture. This is about thinking that through. What is it that you're perhaps thinking of committing to? Um, because Jupiter's up there too, and as I just mentioned, about to go retrograde. So I think Jupiter ruling Sagittarius. So there's a whole lot of thinking now and exploration that needs to be done to make sure that everything's going to plan. Because the big conversations, of course, the real things are happening next year. I mean, this is something that I think everyone's been talking about. These are the planning stages very much, and we're moving through stuff in order to maybe embark on something new when that Saturn Neptune conjunction begins in February next year. For a lot of us, that's the case, I think, anyway, in some area of our lives, wherever that might fall.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and also I think that's very interesting that I was looking at the because when I saw that the Mercury is retrograde from Sag nearly
Hmm.
7 degrees, and then it goes back until 20 degrees of Scorpio. I said that
Yes.
this is a very huge, I mean, part because normally it doesn't go this many degrees, and that doesn't cover like the nearly 10 degrees on one sign and the 10 degrees of the other sign. So it's
Yes.
like it was very interesting. I think in that sense I believe that there could be lots of things to reflect on in both sides and both of the areas of life where Sagittarius and the Scorpio are, and we have to really think about and that what we have done in terms of our um, thoughts, ideas, and the way that we, I mean, express ourselves. I mean, like orally or verbally, etc., and
Hmm.
like what kind of horizons, new horizons we went into, what kind of depth we went into in certain areas of life, and I think that's the Mercury retrograde period would be asking a lot from us this time more than the other times. I mean, it looks like a much deeper
Yeah,
reflection that.
I think that's a really good point, actually. Yes, the fact that it is crossing over those signs, and of course that's where it's going back to the point 19, 20 degrees of Scorpio, where it had that conjunction with Mars. So, that happens sort of around, excuse me, the 21st, 22nd of October. What was going on then that you're now perhaps reflecting on? What were so it's maybe revisiting that a little bit. What were the questions that you had then? And at the same time, Jupiter, which is coming into its retrograde point, is almost making that lovely trine to Saturn in the water sign. So there's emotion involved here as well. Um, but emotion and possibility in Saturn, they're trying to give things structure, but with the planets retrograde, this actually is going to come to fruition next July when those planets come into a proper trine. I feel anyway, and that'll be, I think, it might be. I can't remember. It might be in Leo or something. Anyway, it's not in Cancer and Pisces, that's for sure.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so yeah. So let's just have a look at that Jupiter going retrograde there. So yes, there it is, and it's almost at the point where it's making that trine. And it's beginning to set up this grand water trine with the sun as it does so.
Yeah,
And now the sun's on that point at which the Mercury Mars conjunction was. So it's all pointing back to whatever's been happening that's kind of these changes that are happening in lives in general and in the world in general. Themes that are sort of being worked through, if you like, I think.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
So Jupiter in Cancer, of course, about home and family, about nurturing, about where we feel we belong, and that's what we're reflecting on at this point, where we find meaning, how we find
Yeah.
meaning in those things. Mm.
Yeah, it's always also, I mean, like that is because Jupiter could be about like the what we believe in and how
Mm.
we would like to expand in our lives. So that's, I think, more kind of like that is going forward. But the Cancer is more like could be about our past. So I think
Yes.
that's a good time, I think, to reflect on that past and
Hmm.
how do we, I mean, find meaning in that past to move to the future that we are envisioning in a way. I think
Yes.
it's kind of a period like that, and I think this period of retrograde could be really nice in a certain area again of life where the Cancer is in our charts, and it will
Yeah.
continue out until March next year. So it's a quite
Mhm.
good amount of time to replan that, and because after March there would be kind of a, I think, 4 months, 4 5 months period more Jupiter in Cancer, so we
Mm.
can just rearrange our plans as well.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And it goes back to 15 degrees of Cancer, doesn't it? So
Yes, yes,
we can look at that. Yeah, so we've got a lot more time to think about the themes of belonging, and spirituality is also in the mix as well, I think,
yeah,
faith with the,
yeah,
the, the Pisces planets and Saturn there.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
Okay. Um, so move on to
I think 19 you we have discussed that you mentioned that Mercury would be going back into Scorpio, still retrograde.
yeah, that's right. And it is actually back there in Scorpio. So, yeah, there we are. And then as soon as it gets to that point in Scorpio, actually, the new moon sort of kicks in, doesn't it? And we have that new moon. Have you got the time and date there, Terry?
Yeah, new moon in Scorpio, November 20. It's 7:46 your time at the
Thank
28
you.
degrees 11 minutes.
So this, I think, is a really interesting new moon because when we were talking about this, you were pointing out that they're all at in the really end of the signs, which is giving sort of impetus to that idea of something ending and potentially something new beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, 28 degrees of Scorpio, and opposite Uranus, of course, which is in itself quite interesting. Um, So, what do you think about this new moon, Terry? I mean, it's asking us, isn't it? How attached are we with that opposition to Uranus? Can we really do this? I mean, the groundwater trine is there as well with Neptune at 29, Saturn as well. The sun is trine Saturn already. Um, and so there's a kind of mini thing going on here, but particularly I think this wedge here with Uranus, the new moon, and Neptune down here. It's very
Wow.
emotional. Yeah, I know. It's really emotional and it's demanding. For me, it's demanding break with attachment, I think, with that in Taurus. It's asking this transformation to happen, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's like it's also the Mercury is just like nearly to the point that is like hand in hand with that new moon duo. I like calling, I mean, like both moon and sun, and
Mm.
I think it's like it's a bit complicated because it's like you want to make a new start, okay, new moon,
Mm.
but it's end of the sign because you are comfortable where you are, so you don't want to actually go, you don't want
Yes,
to
sure.
finish the
Yeah.
party, but you have to move on, so you have to wrap up. But Mercury is saying that, okay, you are going to wrap up, but I'm retrograde, so it means that I mean, like, before that wrapping up and then making these new steps, you have to really think twice, thrice, whatever
Mm,
is needed, because you have to reflect on every step that you take. And also, it's a fixed sign. In any case, it will not want to leave that party. I
yes.
mean, like, it will have, it will want more push than ever. I mean, like, to go and to make that first step. And then Mercury is like kind of holding back, and then Uranus is saying that I'm getting that change. What about that? And it's like it becomes a bit kind of complicated, but I think that again it's about the compromises. Okay, I can make that final changes,
Mm,
final wrap ups in the Uranus. I can move that new move. I can, I think, make an end to something. I think
yeah,
it's the feeling like this is not a fresh start, but it's like we are just kind of closing one era and then
yeah.
starting a completely fresh page. And then when we are doing that, we have to make that polarity working in a nice way. And the nice thing is that with the Grand Trine, okay, it's very emotional. There is lots of
Mm,
flow of water that I don't know if it can contain everything, because it's water, it flows. How much can we contain it? But we can, I think, maybe use the pushing power of water. It's like, yeah, until you do it, you achieve it, it will continue pushing you. So I think it's like there is a way to make something good out of this, but I think it will make a lot of effort with all these fixed energy. I mean, it's a lot of fixed energy that we are seeing here. So I
but
think we have
Mars.
to find, yeah, we have to find a way to move ourselves to the right and left. I mean, to make this flow work.
I do agree with you, all that broadly speaking, but I think the positive thing here is that Mars, which rules this new moon and these fixed signs here, is in Sagittarius.
Yeah,
So there's a underlying sense of wanting the adventure, wanting the movement, and just having to get beyond that sense of attachment. Yeah, I
maybe.
really do think that the push is there, the forward motion is there. It's just a sense of yeah, letting something go, as you always have to with the new and full moons,
Yeah,
because you can't. With the full moon, you get to that culmination point, and something's reached a point, and now you've got to let something go in order to disseminate and sort of
yeah,
let it all do its thing as it comes to the harvest point. And then with the new moon, how can you move on if you've got all this baggage behind you? You have to just let it go.
yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. And yeah, I do quite like that. And I'm quite relieved there that Mars is in Sagittarius, actually, because I think that does at least give the sense of something happening.
Yeah, that actually it's good that it's mutable, so that it
Yeah,
will give that space to
adaptable.
move around and make that possible shifts and changes. I mean, if necessary, I think it's good to have that, because it's like that huge kind of stellium there is like in a fixed sign. Sometimes it could be um, quite. It could be restrictive in sometimes. It's good for
Intense as
the
well.
maybe.
I mean, there's no question, really intense.
It's okay, good, sustainable, etc. But sometimes it's like because it's like there's a lot of push and pull effect, yeah, because you want to move forward. No, I don't want to. It's like that kind of thing. So yeah, thank you, Mars, being in Sagittarius at that moment. Yeah,
Yeah, so just to finish on that, actually, I made a note of a couple more points, which it was
yeah,
basically we've covered them really. Uranus pushing us out of our comfort zone there, which I think we said, and but also the idea of Neptune, which brings in the idea of dreams again, and what was it we were dreaming of with Neptune in Pisces and Saturn there as well, and are we going to be able to go on and make that happen? So yeah. Okay, so then the first thing that the moon is going to move through and come into contact with Mars. So the moon moves through into Sagittarius, and we get the following day there is that new impetus and energy. So that's positive too, I think. And then as we come to the 22nd, the sun is in Sagittarius too. So here everything's changed really, hasn't it? So it's
Yeah.
beginning to make this sextile to Pluto. So what was now a problem now becomes perhaps an asset, and we are able to see a way through it. The background situation, if you like, is perhaps with us rather than kind of pushing us, rather than, I don't want to say against us, but rather than challenging, it's now kind of lending its energy to the transformation, whatever that is. Um, and the vision becomes clearer, I think, with the sun in Sagittarius. The idea, and it's party time as well. I mean, we're getting to the end of November, so we're looking very much at moving through to the festive season and whatever your festivities are, I think, as well.
Yeah,
Coming through
closing
that.
the books for the year.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
that's
A
it.
bit early, but I mean, people are getting that, thinking that kind of getting those ideas in their heads, aren't they? So definitely, definitely.
Exactly.
So Sagittarius is about sort of meaning and faith and vision. So it's all about the journey, Sag. Adaptable. How can we make this work? And then we move through to oops, where have we gone? 29th there actually. Let's put my glasses on for
20,
that.
28, when the
28th,
Saturn
yeah.
goes direct,
And
steps
this
into
I'm really
direct.
looking forward to, Saturn going direct. Hooray! So this will be great for people with Capricorn, a lot of Capricorn in their chart, I think, and great for people with Pisces as well to have that planet finally going direct in their chart. I mean, I think it's always a bit difficult, Saturn in Pisces, there's a lot of thinking. I think it brings in some sort of, yeah, it's a bit worrying really, can we do this and stuff like that? How can we create the foundations here? And Capricorn, when it's retrograde in Pisces, mm, I don't think it's a very easy situation. So now it's going direct, and it's beginning to look towards making that conjunction in Aries next year now. It's done
Yeah.
all of that's its last kind of hooray in Pisces, if you like, for this kind of 30-year cycle. So
Mm, yeah, exactly. I mean, like it continues going. But I think it's a way of like during the Saturn transits, we can think about this growth getting mature to some extent, right? And you put the hard work, and it could be for some of the
yes,
people like it's a spiritual growth. I mean, like it's that area that they are like completing that kind of spiritual growth that they have been experiencing or they
yeah,
needed in their lives. I think in that sense, now it's going direct. You made all that reflection, you reviewed everything, and I think you just move to the areas part slowly, flowing in
yeah.
that sense. I mean,
I mean, it's worth pointing out actually, as we're going through this, that we still really haven't had very much air in this chart, especially not since Venus moved out of Scorpio. This is still a heavily kind of emotional time and potentially inspirational with the planets in fire in Sagittarius. But the rethinking that's happening in has been happening in Scorpio is very much about delving deep into things and doing the research, the due diligence and that kind of stuff. It's not that sort of stepping back airy kind of thinking. And as Saturn turns direct, it has just made that lovely sort of trine aspect with Venus. So perhaps, your values and what you're feeling, your relationships and everything are perhaps more aligned now with things going forward, with the structural things that are moving forward. So I quite like that. And then if we move on a day, Mercury also turns direct. I'm just going to move that to later in the day, actually. I'll just move it to another day. It actually turns direct on the 30th, the 29th, sorry, but that will be later in the day. So we'll bring it through to the 30th, and there it is, direct again at that point where it was conjunct Mars before. So coming back to whatever it was going on in October, and now things seem to be moving forward. Interesting.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Well,
And
let's
then,
see.
oh, sorry, that's December. So I was going to say, as we move on to that last day of the month, if I just set the clock a little bit later on that day, um,
It's eight,
then
9 o'clock, yeah, at
yeah,
night. Okay.
then we've got Venus moved into Sagittarius as well. And moving into Sagittarius, coming into now the sextile with Pluto. So that's another one of the planets that's now, feeling energized rather than challenged by the outside environment and what's happening. So I think that's very important.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that the kind of tension is like released, and then it becomes more like a harmonious stage in the sense, and then we start having more fire now,
Yeah,
th thanks to
definitely.
the signs, all the, I mean, the planets moving to mostly Sagittarius. Also in this day, we have the moon in Aries, and we have
Hmm.
this more fiery energy rather than the
Fiery. Yeah.
water is still there, but it's like it's in that sense, at least with water and fire, there is a more balance, but still there is the missing of this air and the earth and all
Yeah.
that kind of energy. So I think we really have to, I think, work hard this month in general to get that grounding, and then putting our mind also into the game, I think, to make that balance.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think with the water and the fire, I think we've got this idea of, the emotion and the vision and those things being worked through, the concepts, if you like, the
Mhm.
concepts being worked through. And now what has to happen is that has to become reality, as the Sun and Mars are heading sort of steadily towards Capricorn, which will happen obviously, in December, and then things begin to become a reality.
Yeah.
And I think that's when things will start to be solidified a little bit more. So all these plans that have been put in place, um, should see sort of daylight or begin to see the first glimmers of daylight, I think, as we go through the next month. But that's for next time, Terry. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that Capricorn and everything would be in December. So, would you like to announce who would be our astrology and beyond series guest of honor for the November?
Oh, yeah. So we're really excited that for our guest of honor in November, we've got Frank Clifford. So this is wonderful, and we have already had the chat with him. We've had an absolutely wonderful chat, and he is such a brilliant speaker. So we had a lovely time talking with him and getting to know him better. And I know that you'll definitely want to watch that. It was brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. So stay tuned. We will be here soon, back in December, with our astrological insight, and later the guest of honor for December as well. So we will, I think, make a nice closing of the year like that. So all the best, and thank you very much. It was lovely again to
Thank
speak
you.
to you. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Thanks, Terry.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.